Greetings everyone, welcome, namaskar. This is a session on pranayama, the breathing practices that are part of the yoga tradition. And I thought to give us some context, a short presentation explaining some aspects of pranayama. Part of being a student of yoga is the practice, but then also your own study to understand why you're practicing what you're practicing, and that your study informs your practices. Please ask questions, especially in this first section as I go through the slides. So pranayama is a set of practices, and it forms one part of this eightfold path called the Ashtanga Yoga. Mr. Iyengar always said, it's not 8 separate steps, it's like 8 petals of a flower. So they're all kind of entwined together. Although there is a sutra in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali where this 8-fold system is outlined, which says only when asana, the poses, are mastered, then begins pranayama. So why is that? Raise your right arm now as high as you can and take a sharper, longer inhalation, and notice the difference between your 2 sides of the chest. Do that again. And do you notice a difference in how the breath is flowing between the right and left lung? You'll feel that the breath in the right lung flows higher up in a more vertical line than on the left. Take both arms to the side and take a similar deeper inhalation. And if you can be sensitive to what you're feeling, the feeling is different in your chest. And that's because the pattern of your breathing has now changed, because the shape of your chest and the shape of your lungs has changed. You can release your arms. So when you're in a yoga class and you're doing postures, and you're doing this posture, your breath is changing. When you're doing this posture, this lung is smaller, this lung is longer, your breath is changing. So your journey of pranayama has already begun when you started to practice the poses. And that's why the poses are not to be separated from your practice of pranayama. The more you practice the poses, the better your pranayama becomes. The more you do the pranayama, you become more tuned into how the poses can help your breathing. One of the biggest contributions on the understanding of why we use our breath is from Yogi Swatmarama of the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, where he says, where the breath is, so is the mind, or how the breath is, so is the mind. So if our breath is calm, our mind is calm. The definition of yoga is not to make your body healthy. Yoga is, according to Patanjali, chitta vritti nirodha, the cessation of all those fluctuations in our head. What shall we do? There's a typhoon. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I come? Should I not come? What's going to happen if I come? And then it starts. Yoga is to silence this. And it's not to say that we want that silent consciousness throughout the whole day. But being human creatures, biological creatures, we need respite. We need respite from the busyness of the world. We need to recharge so that we can fulfill our responsibilities. So if you can have some moments of chitta vritti, of this beautiful silence in your mind, you will go out there in the world ready to tackle the world and not be so distraught or weakened by what is going on. Now, let's go a little bit more to the breathing or practices. This is an MRI of someone's chest. And you can see with every breath, it's not just air entering the body and air leaving, but with every breath, the heart and lungs, which are above the diaphragm here, are being lifted. And this is the diaphragm, below which is your stomach, intestines. So with every breath, there's a type of massage of your organs. Now, these organs, they are weighty. So when you're sitting as you are now, and you're breathing in, the diaphragm has to lift the weight of your heart upwards. And that is why we begin some pranayama lying down. So when you're lying down, the weight of the heart and the presence of the stomach organs don't get in the way of your diaphragm. And we're going to try that today. So that video is to explain the benefit of doing some pranayama lying down. What is pranayama? According to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, if you look at the English, it says pranayama is regulated. And then I've broken up the definition into 3 separate lines after that. And so this is quite important for you to understand why we do what we do. Because pranayama, firstly, is inhalation, exhalation, and the part we often forget is retention, which is the silent moment when you finish your inhalation and before your exhalation has begun. And similarly, when you finish exhaling, you don't immediately inhale. There is a small gap there. That's called a kumbhaka. And these kumbhakas are something to be noticed, which normally go unnoticed. The second part of the definition is pranayama is working with your breath according to 3 things: duration, making your breath longer or shorter; place. Now, when I asked you to raise your arms, I asked you to feel the presence of your breath in the right lung or left lung. If you put your palm here, which is not your lungs, and you exhale, a slightly kind of forceful exhalation, you feel something moving there. And so breath is characterized by lots of movements in our human body. Even in your throat, every time you inhale and exhale, there is a change of the musculature in your throat. And so some techniques of pranayama help us to notice the breath as it is reflected in these different parts of our body. Like we can see the wind in the leaves of the tree. The wind isn't in the tree, but we see the wind in the tree. And the final duration, place, and precision. And so think about precision. When you're learning to write as a young child, you don't write so neatly. But over time, you practice writing your letters more neatly and more precisely. It's the same with the breath. Mr. Iyengar's son, Prashantji, he says we need to be like there's goldsmiths. From gold, they make beautiful, ornate jewelry. We need to become breath smiths. Using your breath, you need to make patterns inside your body. And finally, the breath should be dirgha and sukshma, prolonged and fine. Okay, so we don't want kind of rough, loud breathing. One way to think about it is a little bit like the consumption of food. We don't want to overeat. We don't want to undereat. We don't want to eat fast. We don't want to eat too much. And breathing is very much that. And so one misconception of breathing is that you will be healthier if you breathe more. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We have to learn with less breath to be content, or to not lack energy with less breath. And in one text it says the yogi's life is not measured by years, but by the number of breaths. So breathe slower or breathe less and live longer. Why this? The glass represents your rib cage. The balloon represents your lungs. The balloon can only open to the size of the glass. And so if you make your glass jar, your rib cage larger, you make your lungs, you give the lungs the potential to open more. This is now what we're going to practice. Inhalation, which is called abhyantara. And we're going to take the inhalation going from pelvis to head to upper chest in that direction. But we're not going to do it sitting. We're going to do it lying down. And thinking of that concept of drawing or writing, when you inhale, we're going to take the breath in 2 columns, starting at the lower trunk here near your pubis and moving your inhalation up the trunk. And this is where your imagination has to come in, guiding the breath inside you along 2 tracks, one on the right, one on the left, towards the upper chest, where the breath widens the higher it goes in your trunk. So let's start there. Take your blanket, fold it, take it to this size. Devika, can I get you to demonstrate? Now, watch closely. It's called an accordion fold. You fold one layer back this way and one layer back the other way, so it becomes a bit like a flat S shape. And then I'll get Devika to demonstrate. Watch her first before you do it. She sits on the floor, not on the blanket. And then she lies back with knees bent. And then sometimes the head gets thrown back because of tight neck muscles or shoulders. So you can take the back of the blanket here and tuck it under, so it gives a little bit more lift to the head. And that'll actually help in relaxation. Then you can release your legs, release your arms. Why lying on the blanket is because the arms and shoulders drop down and the rib cage here is held up by the blanket. Okay, and we'll take our inhalation from here, moving the breath this way, separating the breath into 2 columns on the way up. So if you lie down first, I'm going to talk you through some relaxation. I'm going to connect you to your breath, and then we'll start that inhalation practice. If we could dim the lights, I think the students would be more comfortable. Devika, yeah. Tuck the back of the blanket under the head so you get a little bit of a tilting of your head towards your chest. There should be a disposition of the head to the heart. Why is pranayama different to Wim Hof breathing, mechanical breathing exercises? Because the concept of pranayama is to direct your attention to the seat of the self, which is in your chest. Chinmayi beautifully sung, and the question was, who are we? We are not what's in the head. We are what's in the heart. And that's why the head has to have this disposition like you're looking within yourself. Turn your arms, palms facing up. What did I come in the world with? Nothing. What do I exit the world with? Nothing. So all these little things, they contribute to your practice, to your understanding. Now, as you exhale, drop your legs, relax your front thigh muscles, let the front thigh muscles deflate like a balloon. Notice how when you exhale, you can relax better. So time the relaxation of your legs with your exhalation. Now similarly, relax your shoulders and your arms, watching your breath. Exhale, relax your shoulders from the skin of your shoulder, relaxing inwards towards the bone. And now see if you can relax your shoulders from in to out, from the bone, relaxing outwards towards the skin. Relax your arms from shoulder to elbow, from elbow to wrist, and soften your palm like you're not holding onto anything. Now start to notice when you're exhaling that the abdomen on its own is deflating, it's softening. And the breath is very peculiar. When we notice it, it improves on its own. So especially notice the exhalation. Notice those movements in your abdomen. And notice how the abdomen relaxes further and further. The more you notice it, the more you acknowledge it, and the more you allow it to happen. This relaxation of the abdomen is very important for helping us to be less anxious and for digestive health. When we're nervous, we tend to grip the abdomen. So allow your abdomen to let go. And the more the abdomen is soft, then the preceding inhalation improves. Take your awareness now into your chest cavity and notice the inhalation. See if you can pick that exact moment the inhalation begins. Precision. And can you trace your inhalation until the very end? You're an observer, but you're able to pinpoint. That's the beginning. That's the end. And from the beginning of the inhalation to the end of the inhalation, can you keep an unbroken flow of attention on your inhalation? This is one of the 8 limbs, concentration. Dharana. Now, your attention, it's like a spotlight which can shine anywhere. Can you take your attention to your lower trunk, near the pelvis, near the pubis? And after exhaling, you're going to begin your inhalation as if it starts in the pubis and moves up the trunk towards the upper chest. So you begin with an exhalation, you put your attention on the lower trunk, and as you inhale, it's like you're drawing a line going from the lower trunk to the upper trunk. It's not complete imagination because we do feel a movement inside our body which goes down to up during inhalation. You exhale, you can wait 1 or 2 normal breaths, and then as you exhale, put your attention in the lower pelvis, and now inhale, take the breath upwards. Watch how the breath divides into 2 channels, one on the right, one on the left. Watch the breath coming into your rib cage, and take the breath all the way to your upper chest. Then you exhale, And just like any sort of training, you need rest periods in between. So take a normal inhalation, a normal exhalation. Now, attention in your lower trunk, below your navel. Exhale, and begin the inhalation from below your navel. Trace with your awareness the movement of breath. Watch how, as you move up the trunk, you can feel the breath dividing. The higher the breath goes, the wider the feeling inside you. You complete the breath, you exhale, and take a normal inhalation, a normal exhalation. Now, the principle is we mustn't harden any part of our body to take in that inhalation. So exhaling, relax your facial muscles, relax your eyes, and on the next breath, see that your face and eyes remain soft. So let's go. Exhale, eyes soft, and now inhale from the lower trunk without hardening your eyes or face. So it's a different type of breath. You have to pay attention, like when you carry a teacup across the room that is full. When you finish the inhalation, exhale, and we're going to take one more cycle. Breathe out, eyes soft, face relaxed. Now inhale without any tensing of the facial muscles. Attention inside your trunk, watching the breath rise up, watching the bifurcation of the breath. Bring the breath as high as your collarbones, and then surrender that breath. Now stay with unconditioned breathing, some normal cycles of breath, but take note of how your rib cage is separated from your abdominal cavity. Your abdominal cavity has a lot of space, and so does your pelvic basin. Your spine is long, your shoulders are back, your chest is open. These are all the qualities that we want to bring to the sitting posture. So now let us come to sitting. Bend your legs slowly, one leg at a time. Try not to come out of the inward state that you're in, and turn to the right side. You can support your head, lay on your side a couple of breaths. And then pressing the left hand down, sit up. Now let's change the arrangement of the blanket. Taking it back to this large rectangle. Bring the short ends together. And now these are the short sides. Bring those together again, so you create this pillow size. And you're going to sit on this neat edge, not on this sort of rough open edge. So have that neat edge facing to the podium. And if you have a quick look at the slides, we're going to work on exhalation, which is felt in our body as a downward movement of breath. So when you're sitting, the exhalation feels like it's moving from your upper chest downwards. It's like the emptying of a glass, where the glass has a little tap at the bottom. Now, when it comes to exhalation, how do we lengthen our exhalation? It's a little counterintuitive, but if you think of a very quick exhalation, the rib cage drops. And so the way to lengthen your exhalation without creating strain in your nervous system is to keep your rib cage lifted for as long as possible, and even imagining your rib cage is open, even though we know physically the rib cage is closing when you breathe out. One example I sometimes use when trying to explain this concept is like a runner. You're trying to run faster, but with your breath under more control. The beginning, when you first start running, your breath will go, but the better you get at running, the more your breath is under your control. So same with exhalation. I'll demonstrate now. Let me get my busy head out of the way. So we bring the head down. We enliven this area by lifting it, opening it. My focus is on exhalation, so I'm not going to make a big deal about the inhalation. I breathe in. And now look at my chest as I breathe out. That's the end of the exhalation. What did you see? Hopefully nothing. So the feeling has to be like nothing is happening here, but you'll find your exhalation effortlessly lengthens. And that is one of the principles. We want to build effortless effort in our practice. So all the things that seem hard at the beginning, they should seem effortless as you move forward. Okay, let us begin. Notice how, yes, this is a kind of good way to evolve your practice, but for today, can you go with palms down? So you can use a slight downward pressure of your palm to get that lift of your rib cage. Okay, now shoulders back. Open this heart region, chest region, upwards, downwards, sideways, forwards. Close your eyes and bow your head. If anyone's got any knee issues, you can do it with legs straight. You could even do this at home sitting on a chair. Now, bring your awareness to your breath and see if you can detect when you're inhaling, there's a feeling that the breath is moving up your trunk. And when you exhale, there's a feeling like a glass emptying. Something is moving down your trunk. Your chest, it's the vessel. And so keep your vessel lifted, open. And now we're going to go for Ujjayi exhalation. So take a slightly sharper inhalation. And now when you exhale, keep your rib cage lifted. Keep your rib cage as open as it can be. But towards the end of the exhalation, don't force. When the breath wants to come to an end, you allow the rib cage to close. And then you take a normal inhalation, a normal exhalation. Keeping the rib cage up will be easier if you use your palms. So now let's do another cycle. Always begin exhaling, normal exhalation. Now a slightly fuller inhalation. And now keeping your chest up, slowly you're breathing out. And you achieve that by keeping your rib cage lifted away from your abdomen. A normal cycle of breath. Take your eyes into the chest. And now exhale. Sharp inhalation. And then as if the camera is on your chest, you breathe out, so keeping your chest lifted, lifting, open. Normal cycle. When you lift your chest, lift it from the sides of your rib cage. That'll take the hardness out of your throat. Sides of the rib cage up. Also for acid reflux, this keeping the chest up away from the abdomen is very useful. Okay, for people with acidity, this lifting of the rib cage, this practice is very useful, especially as you exhale, the stomach, abdominal muscles relax, it can help. So go for 2 more cycles on your own. Sharp inhalation, rib cage away from the abdomen. As you're exhaling, you're managing the rib cage, keeping it lifted, keeping it as open as possible. You're creating an effortless effort in your exhalation. Take 1 more cycle on your own. When you finished this last cycle, you can raise your head and open your eyes. Change the crossing of your legs, so bring some balance to your hip openings. Now, pranayama is inhalation, exhalation, and then there's that kumbhaka, that retention. And so to work with the retention, you imagine a type of box, and up to now we've done inhalation like it's moving up the trunk, pelvis to top chest. And we've done exhalation, which is like the breath is moving from the top chest down. And so to get this grip is maybe not the right word, but to get this awareness of the retention phase of our breath, you imagine this type of square where the retention is the gap between inhalation and exhalation. And the retention is the gap when the exhalation has finished and the inhalation hasn't begun yet. And you can imagine this square, if you're sitting, this square is this way. And so when we sit now, you're going to take your breath not just upwards, you're going to take the breath upwards, imagining it is more to the front of your trunk, where your navel is, where your chest is. Then, when the inhalation has finished, you're going to imagine, before you start exhaling, that the breath has to travel, or your attention, your mind has to travel from here to here. And when your mind has arrived here, then you begin your exhalation. And the exhalation isn't only moving down, but it's moving down the back of your trunk. So it's near your shoulder blades, it's near your back ribs, it's near your lumbar. And when you finish your exhalation and it's here, you have to imagine your awareness, your attention is going to travel from the back of your trunk to the front of the trunk. And when you imagine that traveling, that brings you to be with the kumbhaka. So if we put it together, if I show you from the side, when I inhale, I imagine the breath moving along the front trunk. My inhalation finishes. But before I breathe out, I bring my awareness here. And now I breathe out. The exhalation has finished. Before I breathe in, I shift my awareness here. And when I'm shifting my awareness, that is the kumbhaka, that is the retention. Inhale. Nothing, 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 nothing. Exhale. Nothing, 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 nothing. And you're in charge of how long it takes you to go from here to here and from here to here. You have to draw that fine line. There's that Upanishad that says, yoga is like a razor's edge. Go too far, it's counterproductive, it's harmful. You don't want to create strain in your nervous system. So find that right speed or right timing for you where you experience that silence, but don't make it that it creates tension in your nervous system. Okay, so let us begin by lifting the chest, palms down, close your eyes. Bring your head down towards your heart. So it should feel like if your eyes were open, you're seeing inside yourself. Open your chest up. That is also a kind of an emotionally brave thing to do. So don't hide any part of yourself. When you open the chest, you open yourself up to being seen. Now connect your attention to your breath. First, witness the upward ascent of inhalation. You feel it moving up in your body. And witness the downward descent. And now we're going to go for that rectangular pattern. So exhale, and along the front of your trunk, inhale, the breath moving up your abdomen, up your chest. When you finish the inhalation, put your attention on your upper back, and now exhale as if the breath is moving down your back. At the end of the exhalation, pause, bring your attention to the front trunk. And now normal breathing before we do another round. Later you can connect, but it's good to have some normal breathing in between so that you don't create tension. Now exhale, and we're going to go for drawing the box. You go at your own speed. Inhale along the front trunk. When the breath has arrived at the upper chest, pause, move the attention on the back body, exhale. At the end of the exhalation, move your attention to the front body, and then normal cycles. We'll try connecting 2 cycles, one after the other. Exhale. Now let's go along the front trunk. Inhale. You're drawing with your breath. You pause, attention on your back. Exhale. You pause, move the attention on the front. Inhale up your trunk. Pause, attention on the back. Exhale. Pause, attention on the front, and now normal breathing. I'm going to let you to carry on. Some of you might find doing 1 cycle and then some normal breathing works better for you. Some of you might want to try linking 2 or 3 cycles together. So for the next 1 to 2 minutes, you carry on. We tend to, as we sit, because of weakness of back muscles, we tend to drop our posture. So this pattern that you're making, when you inhale, use that to lift your chest up. And when you exhale along the back, use that to pull those upper back muscles away from your neck. So that actually helps you to sit more upright. Make the front of the rectangle a little longer than the back of the rectangle. That retention is a moment of silence, not just silence, absence of sound, but absence of movement internally. During the retention, because the breath is not moving, what's remaining? But your consciousness, your true self, your existence. When you finish this next cycle, you can open your eyes. Okay. Sitting can be tiring. Sitting can bring maybe not optimal positioning of the spine, because of our habits of this modern life. We tend to sit in chairs. We don't do enough asana practice. And so, you may end up over time collapsing, letting the trunk fall, the lungs become smaller, the rib cage becomes smaller. So whilst it's good to sit, we shouldn't neglect the supine, the lying down practice. So we're going to go back to lying down. You can prepare your blanket as before. And before you lie down, I'm going to explain the final practice. It's called Viloma. Viloma is where you interrupt the breath. You take an inhalation and you pause. Like a car driving along the road, it has to stop at the red traffic lights, then continue, another set of traffic lights, and then continue, and it finally gets to the destination. So it's like inhaling, but then pausing, and then inhaling again, and then pausing, and then inhaling again to finish the breath. Now, if you look at the screen one last time, what we're going to imagine for the Viloma is, although this is shown in sitting, we're going to do it in lying down, that your breath, your inhalation begins here, and you inhale, and you pause. And where you pause are here at these two bones, the top of your pelvic rim. Then the next set is here, and you, from your navel, you inhale to here, your lower ribs. Then you go again, inhale to your upper chest, and then finally, the fourth one is optional. Some of you might find in 3 triangles, you're already full, in which case exhale. But if you can do a 4th upside down triangle, you take the last one all the way to here. It's quite surprising, but these bones, the collarbones, your lungs are behind these collarbones. The upper lobes of the lung are this high in the human body. And so we finally want to get our breath as high as this. Okay, so it's inhale, pause. Inhale, 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 exhale. We'll use this pattern for the inhalation. We'll run certain rounds. And then we'll finish off with exhalations, but not using this pattern. It'll be exhale in your abdomen, pause. Exhale in your abdomen, pause. Exhale in your abdomen, pause. It's as if watering the pot plant, and each time you add more water, the soil subsides, subsides, subsides. That will be exhalation. Okay, you can lie down now. We can even have the screen turned off. Notice how when you lie down, the spine is longer, the abdomen is separate from the chest. The chest is open. Turn your arms, palms facing up. Have your feet apart so the pelvis is free. And exhale, relaxing your legs and your arms. Why do I ask you to relax your legs, your arms? Because these are 2 of the 5 karmendriya. In the world, we act using our legs and our arms. And in pranayama, being an internally focused practice, we have to come out of action or out of worldly action. And so relax your legs and arms physically, but also relax them of their nature, which is to move, to do, to walk, to grab. Now bring your awareness inside your trunk. Reconnect with your breath. Now think of that diagram. It was a type of upside down triangle. And the first one is near your pubis and moving towards the pelvic rim. So now let's try 1 cycle. Exhale. Now from your pubis, inhale, pause. From your navel, inhale to the lower ribs, pause. From the navel, come up towards your chest, pause. If you can do 1 more, go to your collarbones, and then exhale. Okay, like that example of the car and the traffic lights, no one likes a taxi driver that slams the brakes at the traffic lights. So when you come to the pause, see if you can come to a smooth pause and a smooth takeoff. So exhale, and now inhale, come to a pause. Inhale, another pause. Inhale to the upper chest, pause. You can exhale or take 1 more inhalation to the collarbones, and then normal cycles, normal inhalation, normal exhalation. The Viloma practice, it's a great practice for building concentration because your mind has to be very involved at every moment. Exhale, and now navel to pelvic rim, inhale. Inhale to the lower ribs, pause. Inhale to the side chest, pause. Inhale to the shoulders, pause. Exhale. See if you can create, if you're doing 3 waves, 3 equal waves of breath. If you're doing 4, 4 equal portions. Exhale, and now begin creating that symmetry. Breathe in, pause. Breathe in the same amount. Pause. Breathe in again an equal amount. Pause. If you can do 1 more, take 1 more. And then exhale. Now, when I say equal, it can be equal in volume, it can be equal in duration, in timing. So let's try equal in timing. 2 seconds breathing in, 1 second pause. Let's begin together. Breathe out. And now inhale, inhale, pause. Inhale, inhale, pause. Inhale, inhale, pause. 1 more. Inhale, inhale, pause. Exhale. So pranayama. Prana is the life force which is carried on your breath. A yama is to regulate it. Like we regulate the forces of nature to make electricity, you're regulating this force within you, which will give you mastery of the energetic body. Let's see if we can form that mastery using timing once again. Exhale. And now inhale for 2 seconds. Pause. Inhale for 2 seconds. Pause. Inhale for 2 seconds. Pause. Can you do one more? Pause and then exhale. And if you think about it, what have you just done? You've inhaled 4 times 2 seconds. That makes 8 seconds. You've done 4 pauses, which is 1 second per pause. So totally, you've just elongated your inhalation to a length of 12 seconds. One last one on your own. Inhale with pauses. Now stay with normal inhalation, normal exhalation. And now we're going to switch to the exhalation. It's called Viloma exhalation. And you're going to put the exhalation in your abdomen as if your exhalation is water. Your abdomen is the pot plant. And now we're not going to work with timing. You're going to work a lot like when you water the plants. You pay attention to how much the soil is soaking the water. You determine, okay, now I've put enough water in the soil. I'm not going to flood it. And so now I want you to work with a type of intuition, not so much by seconds or by time, but by the feeling of your abdomen. And don't even think that you have to do 3 waves or 4 waves or 5 waves. You're going to exhale in your abdomen, pause, exhale in your abdomen, pause, exhale in your abdomen, pause, as many rounds as it feels appropriate. Let's begin. Inhale. And now exhale in your abdomen, pause. Exhale, soften your abdomen, pause. Exhale, deflate, pause. You can keep going, or you can take some normal cycles in and out. Now think about anatomically, our abdominal muscles have so many layers: rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, oblique muscles. The breath has to relax all those layers from the skin down to the spine. Breathe in, and now exhale in the abdomen. Pause. Exhale in the abdomen. Pause. Your exhalation inside the abdomen. Pause. Keep going, or take a normal inhalation, normal exhalation. See that the breath also touches the side walls of the abdomen, like you make sure the water also goes to the dry parts of the pot plant. Inhale. Exhale in your abdomen, and see that the sides, the very periphery of your abdomen, is receiving that breath. Pause, exhale, pause, exhale. It's a little bit like coloring in, when you want to color in the whole picture, all the way to the lines. So we want the breath to touch the expansive area of the abdomen. Now, on the next cycle, see if you can get the exhalation really low in the abdomen, near the pubic area, below the navel. Breathe in. Now exhale in your abdomen. Pause. Go as low as below the navel. Pause. Even relax the skin on your pubis. Pause. And then some normal breaths. Now go on your own so that you experience a few rounds in silence. You're doing one more round on your own. Exhalation with pauses in the abdomen. When you come to the end of this cycle, do nothing. When you finish your next cycle, withdraw this aspect in you which was regulating the breath, and become a passive observer of the breath. No longer guiding the breath, no longer asking the breath for anything in particular, but still being aware of the breath. But that awareness of the breath now is as if you're very far away from the breath, yet no less connected to the breath. Like a mother whose child may be overseas, the mother is no less connected to their child, though the distance between them is great. Or like being in a lighthouse and looking at the vastness of the ocean from high up on a lighthouse. And this is not breathayama, it is pranayama. Why we work with the breath though is the breath is the vehicle of prana. And what is prana? Prana is that life force which when it enters us, it animates us. And when it leaves us, then what remains is a corpse. The prana doesn't extinguish, the prana leaves. So when we connect ourselves with this prana that is carried on our breath, we understand ourselves in a different way, not as mortals, but as immortal. This life may be limited, but our lives are unlimited. So one aspect of our practice is to give perspective, to make sense of this existence via perspective. As you exhale now, surrender yourself completely. Don't be anywhere. Forget where you are. Forget who you are. And one thing that my teacher says is, this is not for you, it's for something inside you. With an inhalation now, bring your awareness to the surface. Reconnect with your body. And rather slowly, bend your legs one leg at a time. And avoid jumping up, rather turn to the right and stay on your right side a few breaths. So one thing yoga helps us is with perspective, and when we go into these practices, it's like we've stepped away from our normal pattern of life. And so you turn to the right. It's almost like a new beginning. You come back into the world having refreshed yourself. You can open your eyes and slowly sit up. Sit on your blankets once more. Lift your chest up. Bring your palms together and close your eyes. Svasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha go brahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu kalivarshatu parjanyaha prithvi sasya shalini deshayam kshobarihita brahmana shantanibhayaha asatoma sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityomam mritam gamaya. Om Shrimat Patanjali Mahamunaye Namaha. Om Shrimat Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May there be always joy and happiness for everyone. May the earth be ruled by righteous rulers in a righteous way. May there be always welfare for animals and men of wisdom. May the entire universe be love and peace. May the rains fall in proper times. May the earth bear healthy grains. May this land never know any agitation. May the men of wisdom be always fearless in their thoughts, in their words, in their actions. Lead me from the unreal to the real, from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, from the mortality of the body to the immortality of the self. Om, salutations to the noblest of sages, Patanjali. Om, salutations to our revered Guru. Om, peace, peace, peace. With an exhalation, bow the head, surrender the brain towards the heart, the abode of the true self. Release your hands and raise your head open the eyes. Namaste. If you have any questions, please ask. And it's really wonderful that despite the rains that you are here. And I hope you stay for the next session and take part in the other wonderful events that are part of India by the Bay. India really does offer a rich heritage to the world from which we can live better lives. So let us explore together this wonderful heritage that is being brought to us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, George. A guru to many in Hong Kong. Thank you so very much. And thank you to all of you. As George said, we can't stress on it enough to have inclement weather in the morning and still have all of you turn up. Thank you. Thank you very much. A few housekeeping rules. For those that have registered for the next session, you can stay behind. There's no need to clean your mats. Simply stay behind. There'll be a team coming in to register you once again where you're sitting. For those that are not registered for the next session and would like to do so, you can go to the reception and do the needful. We have wet wipes over here, which will be handed out to you. So please clean your mats, and we hope to see you for the next ones. Thank you.